Richard, we have a new exhibit at the NASCAR Hall of Fame called RCR 50, Only in America. Tell me about the concept of Only in America and how you came up with it.
You know, I look around this country and how fortunate we all are to have our freedoms and to have the things we have in this great country we live in. And I start out when I speak by saying, only in America could a kid with a $20 race car and a dream be here today, even in the Hall of Fame. And that's where I got it from. Is we're so fortunate. I've been fortunate to go to so many other countries and see what they have to live like, and for us to come back here and see the freedoms. That's why everyone wants to be in America. It's because of the freedoms we have.
When we were planning this exhibit, you were very adamant about it. You wanted it to be about Richard Childress racing and not about Richard Childress. Why was that so important to include everyone?
Well, for me, I've been along with the ride. You know, it's been a lot of people that's responsible for us being here 50 years. Sponsors, company drivers, crew chief, mechanics, employees. And I've been along for the ride. My name's just on the door, but it's a lot more to it than Richard Childress. It is Richard Childress Racing.
You got your start in NASCAR at Daytona in 1969. Now, you were working at Douglas Battery as a machinist, and you went to your boss and asked for time off. What happened then?
Well, I went to Mr. Douglas a few weeks before, and we'd built this 69 Camaro to go over to Daytona to race. And so I went in and I said, Mr. Douglas, I said, I need a couple of weeks off. I'm going to go to Daytona and race. And I thought he'd be happy to know that I was going to Daytona. He said, well, you know, we can't let you go. If you go, you can't work here. I said, okay, thank you. So I left, and best decision I ever made was listening to him, and I left, never looked back.
How big a risk was that for you?
It was huge because I'd been running short tracks and dirt tracks and racing every Friday and Saturday and Sunday that I could, and making what money we could, and still working a full-time job. And to be able to go to Daytona and race where I dreamed about. I went to Daytona in 1965 with a independent driver named Wayne Smith from Advance, North Carolina. I seen it, and I knew right then that's what I wanted to do.
That's great. You got your first really big money race later that year at Talladega when you raced your Camaro in the Grand National Series. How'd that come about?
You know, what happened there was they had to boycott the PDA. Richard Petty and all the guys, they were going too fast for the tires that they had at the time, and the PDA decided they weren't going to race, that they were going to pull out. And Big Bill France said, no, we're going to race. And he came to us and asked us if, you know, he gave us some money to come. We called it deal money back in the day. We got deal money from him for Saturday. We got deal money for Sunday for running that race. And we left there with $3,000-4,000, whatever. I'd had more money than I'd ever seen in my life. And that was a break that I needed right there.
What was it like racing those little Camaros and Mustangs against the big cars and those high speeds at Talladega?
I think we probably ran around 180 mile an hour, and the big cars were running right at 200. We had our own competition between all of the cars that stayed over, and then Richard Brickhouse and some of the guys that were racing the big fast cars, they were racing. We all were racing to win, but to beat those guys were pretty much impossible.
Now, from 1969 to 81, you were an independent owner driver, and we tend to think of NASCAR as a big money sport. It wasn't big money for independents back then, was it?
No, we would race pretty much from race to race, and at the end of the year, we'd get our point money, and then by January or middle of December, we'd have to go to Daytona, and Bill Jr. would help sign us up with a bank and put our money up that we were going to win the following year, and we'd borrow enough money to get us through the winter and build our cars and go again. So it's a lot of history there that folks just don't realize.
How hard a lifestyle was that?
Well, it wasn't. We thought we were living a dream back then. You know, it was a lot of fun, a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of nights away from home, traveling and working all night on the race cars. And so we we didn't really realize it was tough. You know, we thought it was great.
What made you decide to get out of the cockpit and hire a driver?
Well, I could see times changing in the sport, and that's when the guys like M.C. Anderson, Warner Hodgson, Osterlund, M.C. Anderson, all of these guys came in, Jim Stacy, J.D. Stacy, these guys came in with money, and they were going around hiring up. They hired even my crew chief, and they hired up all the people they could. And each time one of them big money guys would come in, it pushed me further and further back. I could foresee what was going to happen to the sport. It was going to become a big money sport, and if I didn't do something, I was going to be out of business.
The first driver you signed was Dale Earnhardt. How soon did you know that relationship was going to click?
Well, we had known each other for quite a bit, and we were actually in a little hunting club, and we knew about half after 5 races, we knew we had something special between us. And it's kind of what he wanted and what I wanted, but we both knew that RCR at the time was not ready to race him, and he went to Bud Moore, and we hired Ricky Rudd the following year. We ran Ricky Rudd in 82 and 83, and Dale drove for Bud Moore, and we got back together in 84, and I like to say the rest of it's history.
Now, you guys, Richard Childress Racing, in the heyday of the Junkyard Dogs, you guys kind of raced with a chip on your shoulder and a lot of swagger. I remember that from back in the day. Where did that come from, and was that kind of your secret competitive edge?
Yeah, well, Dale was the intimidator, so we had to have his pit crew had to be something just as bad as and tough and mean as the intimidator. And we used that to try to intimidate everyone else. And they won, I don't know how many pit crew championships. And when that car hit pit road, we knew we were going to beat them out.
Even though you were enjoying success and winning championships, you thought of yourselves as underdogs, didn't you?
Yes, we always thought we were, because we were doing more with less than anyone. We were racing Junior Johnson in '86, a Hendricks, and all along the ride, we knew that we were being out-dollared, but we knew that we had better people. We had the greatest driver in the world. We had good people, and we did everything we could with what we had.
I got to ask you this. It's a little off the beaten track, but what was it like to hunt and fish with Dale? Because I know you guys were both avid outdoorsmen. You still are, of course.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I will tell you this. If you shot a bigger deer than him, or a bigger elk, you were in a long haul to get back home because he didn't want to talk to you. Fishing, he wanted to always catch the most and the biggest fish. He was competitive at everything he did. That's what made Dale Earnhardt what he is that he didn't want to lose at nothing. Hunting, fishing, driving back to the airport or whatever.
But behind the scenes, he helped a lot of people out, and most folks don't know that.
Oh yeah, he had the kindest heart for people, and I know so much, and he wouldn't even want me to say some of the things that he done for people that I know. Everything from buying them a car if they were down on their luck, he would give them money, and he would just help so many people out. And I'm proud to know him for that part of it as well.
I know you wrestled with selling the team after his unfortunate accident. How long was it before you realized that staying racing and keeping your team going was the right thing to do?
Well, I knew it at Daytona. We lost Dale that February 18th, and I think it was the 18th in 2001. And so I knew from a conversation he and I had on a mountain that came to me down there that I knew that's what he wanted us to do, and that's what I put together, and we came back and put the team together, and we've been racing ever since.
You've been fortunate in the subsequent years. You've had a lot of great guys drive for you: Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer, Jeff Burton, and some others. What are some of your biggest memories with those guys?
Oh, I got some great memories with Kevin, from winning the Daytona 500 or Indy or here at Charlotte, and Clint Boyer, he was so much fun to work with, and Jeff Burton was a class act. He was like a leader of our organization at the time, and just so many great memories. They brought so much. And what I said earlier, it's not about Richard Childress, it's about all the people around us. And those are the kind of people that help keep Richard Childress Racing going.
And now you got your grandsons racing for you. You've won championships with both of them, Ty and Arca, in Austin in trucks and Xfinity, the Daytona 500, the Coke 600. What's that like, having blood racing on your team?
Well, it's great. I mean, sometimes it gets nerve-wracking, but nothing's been given to these guys. The opportunity was given to them. They had to go prove it, that they could do it. And today they still know they got to go out and run good to keep a job. And you know, it kind of gets me every now and then. Somebody says, well, these kids have got a golden spoon. Every driver out there had a break. And their break was their grandfather put them in a car and they had to go out and prove it. And I told them from the days of the legend cars, I said, guys, you're going to have to go prove that you deserve to race. And they did. They went out and won races in about everything they've driven.
Now, away from the track, you and your wife, Judy, have been very philanthropic, started the Childress Institute for Pediatric Trauma. I know you're involved in a lot of conservancy projects. Where did that sort of philanthropic component come from in your life?
I think it goes back to my granddad. He said, always do your thing right for other people and it'll pay back to you in over and over. And we've just tried to be able, if you're fortunate enough to be able to do something to help others. I was helped when I was a little kid. I had people that helped my mom to keep us going, keep us kids together. And today, you know, to be able to give back and to be able to make a difference in injured kids' lives. The number one killer of America, of children in America today, is trauma. And for us to be making a difference, I was just in a meeting yesterday on it about the difference that we had made, and I'm really proud for a lot of the things that we've been able to accomplish with the Institute.
That's fantastic. Richard, thank you for your time. Last question I want to ask you. When people come to the NASCAR Hall of Fame to see RCR 50 only in America, what do you want them to learn or experience?
You know, I want them to see, I haven't seen it myself, but I want them to understand that no matter in life, you're going to have good times. You're going to have tough times getting started. I have kids a lot of times say, how do I do this or how to do that? One of the things I tell them all is follow your dreams. If you follow your dreams, put the work and the effort behind it, it's unlimited what you can accomplish.